Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats, talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Remember, the 5th of November. Today we are talking V for Vendetta, premiered at the Austin Butt-Numathon, December 11th, 2005. It is written by the Wachoski Sisters, so that revolutionary spirit, bleeding through hard, as it was written by the creators of The Matrix, and directed by James McTeague.
I did not know.
Yeah. I was excited to give you that little tidbit. You hadn't mentioned it, which meant you didn't know, so I was ready.
I did not know it.
Yeah, I was ready to give you that little bit.
Better.
So,
wow.
I'm Colton Robertson. I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, it's always a pleasure to be here, and even more of a pleasure knowing this information now. I already really like this movie. That's for sure. But now just that little, it keeps getting better. It's like fine wine right now.
It's a nice little lens to view a movie through whenever the Wachoski sisters are the ones who penned it or directed it. You know, the revolutionary spirit that bleeds through in V for Vendetta, coming from the minds of two trans women, which is inherently revolutionary. That's pretty strong, you know, and I think I loved this movie, man. I'm not like I'm coming away very, very high on this movie. It was actually a first viewing for me.
Which is crazy. I think probably one of the only ones where I have seen the movie before you. But even my viewing, I've had one when I was very young.
Right.
And I remember probably like coming off Star Wars, off some of the prequels, seeing Natalie Portman, and then I just saw Natalie Portman was in this movie, and she was my childhood crush. So I kind of anything she was in, I would see.
I had a very different view of this movie in my head than what it actually was. Like, I thought, I knew nothing about this movie coming into it. So when we kick this movie off and it's like, big government, big brothers watching over you, we need to stop that shit. I'm like, okay, I'm in. You know, it kicks off with the dude being like, the former United States. And I'm like, oh, let's see what this is all about. You know what I'm saying? But,
crazy conglomerate of what's going on here. It's in the late 20s, or sometime in the future.
I believe it's 2020.
Really? Did they actually say a year? That's crazy. But coming out in 2005, so this is set in their future, where
our past.
They think the world is going, but then they're using all these. It's like I don't know. It was a beautiful mashup of time and all these stories that just and ideas that come together, and like I remembered I liked this movie, and I didn't remember why, and I was like, was it really just Natalie Portman, you know? And like I was just crushing on her, but now I'm very glad to know that it was more than that. Like there was something more. I don't think my little human brain at like age, I'd say I was probably under 10 the first time I saw this. So there's no way I understood all of what it meant and all the revolutionary stuff, but I definitely knew that V was a badass and was just very clean while doing so. And but now watching it, you know, my brain almost fully developed. I'm not 25 quite yet, but I'd say I have a better head on me, and this has been one of my favorites just to watch on the project so far. Just in like, I don't know, it was just a really, really fun, it was hitting all the right notes, you know, as far as just the revolutionary spirit goes, and man, it just makes so much sense that, I don't know, I would have, because I was trying to think of other revolutionary movies that kind of move me like this, and that actually, like, kind of lights that spark, you know, a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, the Matrix, that's one that does it. For me. And I just love all the sci-fi of it and everything. This one, I don't know.
Hey, this one's
barely
much
anything that's
more.
fantastic at all.
Yeah, no, this one's much more cerebral, much more like literary
Mhm.
than The Matrix. You know, it's not a visual effects uh
Mm-mm.
marvel or anything, and there's certainly visual effects, but it's clearly not on the level of The Matrix. It had to ground itself in a story that, and I mean, not to say that The Matrix is one of my favorite movies of all time, top 10. So I'm not being like V for Vendetta is better than The Matrix, because
Yeah.
I don't believe that. But like it had a lot of heavy lifting to do from the story, because it didn't have that sort of whoa, look at the shit they're putting in front of me, this is wild, I'd never imagine I'd see anything like this sort of thing, you know, because what they're really doing is, you know, capturing, it's 2005, you know, we're in the heart of the Bush administration, you know, the Patriot Act has been signed into law. It's about handing your freedoms over to the government out of fear for, you know, terror, and what that can ultimately lead to if it snowballs into, you know, a guy like what was his name? Sudler?
What was his title?
Yeah, Adam Sutler, High Chancellor
Yeah,
Adam
Chancellor.
Sutler.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, Sutler. Yeah. I mean, I like, even as a kid, I think it's pretty clear. Like, their messaging is very clear. Like, they're
It's
not
succinct.
like, it's not hidden at all. They're very like, it's even spoken a lot of times, just in whether V's talking to Evie, or if it's like literally him when he's giving his like address to everyone, like he's on that, you know, emergency broadcast and he's talking to everybody.
Great
Like
scene.
that. Oh my God. Like his speech was just, he's so eloquent and like how he talks, you know, so it's like, okay, I gotta maybe listen to this guy. He sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and he's just so beautiful in the way he talks. But like seeing like all the family's reactions, you know, like of hearing it and like seeing where everyone else was while watching, and then like minutes after, it's like, yep, the terrorist was taken care of and was killed, and like, and you just saw like some of the families hearing that word and were like, what? They were like, you know, like, what are you talking about? You know, like, I don't know. It was kind of, the Wachoski sisters are just a little ahead of their time, I guess. Always they're locked in. Like
They got this shit figured out. Oh, and you know, this is based off of the Alan Moore comic from the 1980s, which was more influenced by, you know, the Margaret Thatcher administration in the UK amidst the 80s. And applicable to Ronald Reagan as well. You know, like, it was a bad time for politics worldwide at that period of time. And there was a real concern about the rise of fascism, and then there's another 20 years later, and here we are another 20 years later. And, you know, it's just kind of cyclical, you know, you keep going like, man, this doesn't look good. Man, this, because the stuff, there's that part where the inspector, I should say, is talking about the vision he had, or like the hunch he has. And he's like, I could see it all play out in my mind. And like, everything that happens, the reason this rise to power happens, and all, like, it's not far off from what we see, you know, in everyday life. And it's it's frightening, you know,
like this. It's a comic book movie, you know, it's made by DC. It's like not, you know, this isn't historical, you know, this isn't real, but I mean, goddamn, if I'm not thinking of everything that's happening in the real world, like while watching this, I'm like, oh my God, like, oh, like,
yeah,
just taking a step back and being like, you know, a virus that, you know, that the government has the cure for, and
a virus that came
like,
that wiped out people in 2020.
Yeah, okay. That's, you know, I don't
frightening.
know, in like the news, and like seeing like I just kind of the Tucker Carlson of this movie, you know, like seeing how he's like in his like in the shower, he watches, you know, his shows back, like, and it's all that he can think about, and he's just so like egotistical, like, I don't know, and it was like everything that was here, like usually like in early 2000s movie, it's a little like cringy when they go in like the future, like things just like thought the future would look like, and or like whatever, like comes across like when you look back at it, it's like very weird. But this is pretty timeless here. Like it's just the story, like the type of people and like the idea of them, I guess.
There's actually an interesting movie that came to mind as far as an influence on the portrayal of a futuristic UK where things are different. A Clockwork Orange.
I was just gonna say,
was something that came to mind where I was like, oh, this it's obviously a very different story from what A Clockwork Orange was putting forth, and not as fantastical and off the wall as A Clockwork Orange might have been. But you know, when you're looking to create a surreal future that doesn't feel so far off, that's not a bad reference point. You know, like it's a good place to go, and I think this movie kind of builds on that in a really compelling way because, you know, there's nothing futuristic about this. You know, with the rise of fascism, it kind of gives you the impression that it's just gotten more run down, dark, grim. There haven't been advancements in tech, you know, like most of the stuff that's in this movie was the technology of 2005. And I know that's not like they made the movie in 2005. Of course, they're just going to they might just tell the story that way. But when you are setting it in the future, that feels important. You know, it's like there hasn't been these leaps forward in any regard. You aren't progressing at all. You are stagnant in your social development because you are arresting and murdering people who aren't straight white people, you know, essentially.
Yeah, they were, I mean, not afraid to get down and like to the nitty gritty of these details of like who they're taking and just the black bags over their heads, you know, and they just disappeared. Never heard of them again. Getting a little too close to thinking the right things, and you know, you're saying the right things, and if it threatens the administration and it threatens their, you know, what they're doing, it's like they only see it one way. It's like, and you know, we have the CIA, just a it's really weird. It's like am I going to be put on a watch list after this podcast? I don't know, after talking about certain things, because we will talk about like the Parliament building blowing up, a revolution to start that, having like people go out and see it, and like it'd be great if we could resolve all of our issues peacefully, you know, like it'd be fantastic. But just in history, it doesn't seem to work out that way. Whenever you ask for things peacefully, they tend to keep us where we are and where we're comfortable, in air quotes, you know. And
that's the thing is that like in that emergency broadcast when he's taking over the emergency system. Which another of note thing is that like that they were hoisted by their own petard there, where the guy who ran the network was like, "Hey, you told me how you wanted this. You said every screen in London," and he just managed to get in. Hardly my fault, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously they'd want it for their use, you know, so that if they ever needed to spread some fascism, you know, at any moment's notice they could, but didn't really think of, you know, what happens if someone else gets their hands on it?
Yeah.
And it's like, they never, like, they think they're just always on top no matter what. And that's the system that that it has to work that way. You have to suppress everyone and make them think that they can't do this. And like, that it's impossible. Like, it's even, like, even Evie was like, still wanting to snitch and like get out of it. Like, initially after like she was like kind of shown the truth a little bit and was convinced. She was still like, I don't know. I mean, you know, I think, you know, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for this. This isn't good. But I think that's like the importance of V and like the single domino piece that he holds on to, and like everything like that is just to show that, I mean, this is quite elaborate, and you know, this is a plan that is stretching over years and stuff that he's been planning. He's been waiting for the inspector, like all these things, but it's one dude that was doing all this stuff. You know? Like it's a difference of like Batman going out there and literally like fighting people and like fighting the crime literally to try to stop it, and then like someone like V that is trying to like completely stop it from the root, like, and not even just crime, but like
corruption.
Like the whole government, which is, I don't know, I just anytime that's going to be in a movie, I'm gonna love it.
Absolutely, man. And it was like the performances in this movie are fucking fantastic. You know, Natalie Portman is already super impressive as Evie. But then you have Hugo Weaving, our Agent Smith, another Matrix crossover there.
That's really cool.
Where he's putting on a hell of a performance, and you do not see his face. This is one of the best pieces of mask acting in film, like blockbuster film, like ever. This is incredible, you know?
Yeah. And apparently it wasn't even him. Like, there was someone else in the mask. I forgot, like, they went with someone completely different, and he's just voiced over everything.
No kidding.
Like a Darth Vader sort of thing. Yeah, I was reading the trivia. And the director was like, "Can I notice a difference?" Yeah, but could anyone else? I doubt. Yeah, it was James Purefoy as V. Certain scenes. Maybe not. Okay, certain scenes. Sorry, so not everything. I painted out.
Okay.
But yeah, certain scenes feature James Purefoy as V, who was the original cast in the role, but then replaced by Hugo Weaving 4 weeks into filming. So I guess there was only 4 weeks worth of stuff, but then they said that Weaving's voice was simply dubbed over Purefoy's performance in post-production, and the director said in the interview, "Can I tell the difference? Yeah, but can the audience tell? I doubt it." And
man,
I mean,
that's impressive.
I couldn't. Yeah, I didn't know. I would have thought that he was in there. Like, it is interesting how to film that, because if he's actually in the mask and talking, it would be very muffled, and like even if they had like a boom mic right above him, you know, it's probably voiced over no matter what in most scenes. Or do you think it's just actually?
I don't know. It's a good question. I thought it sounded like it was coming through a mask. I didn't think it sounded clean necessarily.
Yeah. I wonder how that's done. Like if it is in a booth and then they. Like, even if you are in a booth and you have to record it, do you record it through a mask so that it does still sound like it's coming through a mask? Or is it, like, post-process somehow? I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But, I don't know, a super cool, like, just Matrix connection there. That, like, I didn't know the Wachoski Sisters were involved in this at all. I only knew Hugo Weaving was, and I'm like, oh, you know.
Well, there's a further Matrix connection and Keanu Reeves connection at large, where the stunt double for V when he's emerging from the fire of Larkill is Chad Stahelski. And Chad Stahelski was Keanu Reeves' stunt double in the Matrix movies and the director of all 4 John Wick movies.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, Chad Stahelski, very, very well established. So that little piece of trivia where he is literally walking through fire wearing nothing but a special fire-resistant gel and G-string.
That's pretty baller. I mean,
that's pretty nuts.
Like, I mean, it was dark, so like you couldn't, you know, just see that the dude was in a G-string. He's on fire, I guess, you know, and everything like that. But that's incredible to think about back. Just, I'm gonna watch that scene now, and that's the only thing that's gonna run through my head is that dude's just in a G-string. But yeah, I don't know. This movie is very like I'm definitely watching it again. That's for sure. But I've done more research into this movie after the fact, because it was so interesting. And like, I love Constantine. I thought that was really good. And I'm like, ooh, I need to see like what these comics are like. But this one like was different. This one I watched and I'm like, okay, like I need to
read this graphic novel.
Yeah, like I don't know. This was I want to see like how heavily inspired it was, or you know, if there were any changes, anything like that. Because I feel like at least looking through a little bit, a lot of the dialogue that he was said like comes straight from the graphic novel. A lot of the lines, and one of my favorite lines, I think it will be mine. I can't. More of a scene. I don't know. But this line, he's just talking to Evie, and he said that people should not be afraid of their governments, but the government should be afraid of their people. And it was like just a normal conversation that was between him and Evie. No broadcast, not talking to anyone larger, but like every time he spoke, it was always about his principles or like
about his motive, about his mission. Yeah.
You could just tell that like if this person is going to exist, it has to be their whole life. You know, like you can't work a full-time job and come home and then just have like a revolution on the side. You know, this has to be all you think about. And
and that scene in and of itself was also one of my favorites when she like wakes up after the broadcast station and he's making breakfast in his little apron and stuff, and he flips
he does say the line. You're right. He is in an apron when he says this. Which
he's being perfectly casual about it. She's like, "What's this all about?" And he's like, "Well, you see, this is what I'm about." And because that's kind of the thesis for the film, the governments. People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people. Like that's an operative thesis. And in a perfect world, which is not a world we exist in, we coexist happily. But in the world we do live in, it is best for the government to be afraid of the people, I think,
Yeah, like you should look to the government and be like, help, or like, like this, like, they can help me, or like I can go to the government with my problems if I have nowhere else to go.
They shouldn't feel useless.
But, like, there's no feeling in me whatsoever that is like feeling safe with the government, that's the whole point, is to keep us safe in our country and have us be, happy and run things. But I mean, it is like fear, like they said, they didn't know that the best thing to come out of this, all of this, bad conglomerate, the virus, I forgot what else was kind of going on at the time. I felt like, maybe like the Civil War in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Like the world was heating up, and then through this virus and everything that they thought was their weapon, what ended up being the true weapon was fear, and that the control over everyone over fear, and
the use of misinformation and spreading propaganda and being like, the immediately trying to quell the revolutionary spirit after he's like, meet me in a year at Parliament. And they're like, we killed him. You don't have to worry about that. He's dead. Like that's some dirty shit,
I mean, gonna be honest, this would probably be the coolest real revolution ever. Like dude literally made a theatrical play, basically. Like dude was perfect about everything, and obviously this is a movie and it's written that way. But man, if we're gonna have a revolution anytime soon, I'd like it to be this way. I don't know. This was, I just loved how confident he was in every encounter he had. I mean, I guess he's sort of like some experiment gone wrong, when he got shot by an entire firing squad and was like, all right, my turn, now let me kill all y'all. And then, he still died afterwards, but dude was...
It almost felt like he was trying to make the point that what kept him going was his mission. It wasn't like, and we do get the explanation from the scientist lady at some point that like, he's got some other shit going on. Cellularly, he is mutated in a way that makes him different,
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, it was still really cool to see that sort of drive. Oh, what's up? Sorry, hold on. Sorry, just got an important letter. No, I'm just kidding. But this was it was just really, really well done, and I appreciated the spirit of V, if not the he was very over the top, and I actually really, really loved that. Like one of my favorite lines was his introduction, an epic character introduction. Voila! In view of humble vaudevillain veteran, cast vicariously as both victim and villain by the vicissitudes of fate, the visage no mere veneer of vanity is a vestige of the vox populi, now vacant, vanished. However, this valorous visitation of a bygone vexation stands vivified and has vowed to vanquish these venal and virulent vermin vanguarding vice and vouchsafing the violently vicious and voracious violation of volition. The only verdict is vengeance, a vendetta, held as a votive, not in vain, for the value and veracity of such shall one day vindicate the vigilant and the virtuous. Verily, this vichyssoise of verbiage veers most verbose, so let me simply add that it is my very good honor to meet you, and you may call me V. I'm like, he gets to you may call me V, and it's like, no shit.
Like, yeah, okay. I mean, obviously, it's quite over the top, but people used to actually sort of talk like that, like at
relatively,
like not obviously, not to that extent, but it's just.
I had no idea you could string that many V words together coherently, you know?
I mean, I'm not going to lie. He lost me about halfway through when he was just saying words at some point, and it wasn't really comprehending. But, I mean, if you... I don't know. Like, it all makes sense. Like, actually, like, it's not like just random gibberish.
No, he's saying something.
Yeah, no, he is saying something. Like, and that's... Every time he speaks, it is...
Yeah, him saying, verily, this vichyssoise of verbiage veers most verbose. Is just like him saying, like, sorry, no, that was a lot.
Yeah.
You know? But, like, he says it with nothing but V words. And it's like I enjoy that little... And an incredible monologue, you know, on the part of Hugo Weaving. Because that's a tongue twister. It's not easy to say. That was That's quite the impression. And then Evie's only response being like, "Are you like a crazy person?"
Yeah, like, am I alive right now? You know, did these guys actually kill me and I'm not here? You know, very stereotypical. Have to have the woman walking alone at night, and then the guys come up to her. You know, obviously, and the sexual assault, the gimme in comic book movies. But this one, it's even better because they're the fingermen or they're cops. You know.
Yeah.
Which adds that layer on top, and then it also introduces V quite badassly as well. But no, you were definitely right talking about how like it was his like spirit and like his passion keeping him going. Because like in that final fight scene, you know, he takes all of them out after they get the chance to reload. He was pretty, you know, he kept his word. And you know, after killing whoever the head of the CIA,
Creedy,
Mr. Creedy. You know, after he kills him, you know, he's still staying like it's not really affecting him at all. But then the second like it's over, he's like, "Holy fuck!" You know, he's shit, and like
he takes off that like the knight's armor,
and like is stumbling against the wall. I don't know if it was on purpose, but like his blood mark, it was like a V too. Like it left like a little blood V,
like a little,
which was kind of sick. I don't know if that was intentional or if it just so happened to smear that way. But that, I don't believe, you know, it's not coincidence. If it seems like coincidence, it's probably not with V. Like, this dude's been playing in this for quite some time, and I wonder how deep it goes. Like, he has been waiting for an inspector, you know, he's like, I've been needing you. You know, and that was kind of all a ruse, I guess, in the first place, you know, it wasn't...
Yeah, I take this to be less planned out so much as, like... I don't even know if necessarily, because there's this weird thing where that they allude to that he at the end is like, you know, I helped create this.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for them to create something.
Yeah.
And it kind of implies that V he's, you know, it sounds like he's getting insider information. What's going, like, did he at some point rock with the government of some sort?
I think because like in my head, I'm kind of thinking like how far does it really go? And like, because Evie, like that year that she spent, or like I don't know how long she was being tortured for. Not the whole year, but like a good chunk.
Good chunk, yeah.
Being tortured for. And who's, you know, is it a coincidence that both of her parents like died fighting like a revolution, you know, and like that she like, do you think he just saves anyone? You know, like he saved her
very specifically,
you know, and like I don't know, maybe he was just like he knew that at the end of this he wasn't going to be the leader, you know, like he knew he couldn't get up and lead everyone with a mask, and like, you know, he's all disfigured underneath. People would think that's wrong, you know, or whatever. Like he knew it couldn't be him, and he knew like he was like on his way out of the world anyway. Like this dude's old. I don't know how old he is, but like he seems like they kind of make it out to be that it was like he's like the spirit of the bomb, you know, like just reincarnated, like the guy who got hung or hanged right at the beginning of the movie,
Guy Fawkes.
Yeah, and yeah, that's right. Was that an actual real thing in real life, or was that just made up?
I'm not sure. I doubt it.
Yeah, Guy Fawkes.
I believe he's a real guy. I don't know if he did all of this stuff.
Well, I mean, like, did he almost bomb Parliament back in whatever, you know, like Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Guy Fawkes, also known as Guido Fawkes, while fighting for the Spanish, was a member of a group of provincial English Catholics involved in a failed gunpowder plot of 1605. Remember, the 5th of November.
Like, and I was thinking, like, the 5th of November, you know, and then, like, what the equivalent would be. Like, it would be, like, our new 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we celebrate 4th of July, and we're like, oh, we're finally gone from England and all these colony, whatever. We're our own thing. But, like, this would be, like, so much greater. I don't know. Like, having a day like this, like that would be one. He made it one to remember. That's for sure. I mean, wow. And that's the thing.
I mean, legitimately, with like the fireworks and stuff, like they're trying very clearly to evoke a certain sort of essence of what the holiday means, you know?
Yeah.
And I
independence, freedom, you know, like, and like, part of me is like, well, do you really, like, what would be the best way to actually go about, like, starting a revolution, like, today? And, like, to actually do things that would actually fix some problems. And, like, in the U.S., like, what would be this equivalent? You know, like, killing the cabinet members, or, like, CIA, and then, like, blowing up the White House, you know, or, like, that's
and that's the thing, is that, like, at this point, we don't have an exact equivalent, you know, because we haven't reached to this point. It's only like, you know, we are, I don't think we're well on our way or anything, you know, necessarily, but, you know, we're not far off from being well on our way. You know, like, it's like a couple things change, you know, and next year, you know, if Trump wins the nomination and Rob DeSantis is vice, and then 2028 rolls around and they're like, throw Rob DeSantis at the top of the bill. That's frightening. You know, that's scary stuff. That's stuff that could lead to the sort of like, people like that are outlawing the kind of shit they were locking people up for in this movie. You know, and
that's the thing, is that I don't think it really needs to arrive at, like, oh, now we're fascist, and, like, now we are, like known outward. Like, I don't think it really takes that, because, like, there are things that are happening in this movie that are kind of already happening now. Like,
well, I think that's part of the point of this movie, is that they don't, I think a lot of the citizens don't really recognize that they live in a fascist society.
Yeah. Like,
you know, they sit down, they watch TV at night, they go to work, they have, you know, the only thing that really would clue them into being like, all right, well, this is a little, come on now, is the curfew, you know, but even so, they have like the curfew is for your safety, like on every banner, everywhere, all over the place. Like, no,
I don't know. Like, I think the closest thing, like the virus and whatever, that's, I don't even really want to think about that. It's a little just too real, I guess, right now.
Right.
But like the CIA part, and like the black bags, people disappearing, like, for talking about things that you shouldn't get killed over, you know, like, if just because you had one idea, like, that idea is dangerous enough that the government is like, okay, we're just going to get rid of you, you know, like, and that's crazy, that like that makes you fear the government, like, so much more, like, that, like, there's no sense of safety whatsoever, like, with, I don't know, like, and it's sad that he can make, like, a fake prison and make it so, like, how it actually would be, you know, like, you don't see the face at all of him ever. It's always like it bright lights, everything like that. Like, I don't know, like, obviously we have no idea when these people are taken, where they get taken to, if this is, you know, actually happening at mass. I don't know. But, like, you hear of a lot of people who are making, like, scientific breakthroughs and doing research into, like, free energy and stuff like that, and then they just are off the map. You know, they're just gone. It's like, I don't want to really believe that it's going on, but at a certain point, there's too many people and too many things that are lining up where it's not coincidence anymore.
You know, yeah, and that's the thing, is that, like, a perfect fascist state would lead you to believe you were not in a fascist state. You know, like it would not clue you in, because there's something in, like, fascism knows it's fascist and it knows it's wrong to be so. You know, like there's something inherently wrong with it, and they know it's wrong, but it's evil. And they can't help but do it if they are, like, if you are at the top, like Adam Sutler, or you are the people perpetuating the cycle of misinformation, like what was his name? The guy who ran the news network. Was it Finch? Was that Finch?
Let's see. That sounds kind
or
of
Dascom. Dascom.
Ben
That was
Miles. Was that? Yeah. No, because Dietrich, that was like the comedy show guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
He was
okay.
he was the cool guy. He was the gay guy who had a Quran and like took Evie in. Like that was a dope ass character. I like Dietrich.
I don't need.
Interestingly enough, John Hurt, the one who played the literal personification of Big Brother, one of my shots that I was considering was at the beginning when the council is like lined up in front of him in their seats and he's on the giant screen, and you have their little, I know it's not a swastika, but what's essentially their swastika.
Yeah.
Interesting about John Hurt, the guy who plays the High Chancellor, he was actually in the movie 1984, which is a very large influence on this, and he was the Evie character.
Really?
You know, like he was like the equivalent there.
That's
Winston Smith in 1984.
Wow. Yeah. Huh. Oh, there's even a V, like a, I don't know, looking at the movie poster, there's a V, like Roman numeral V on the movie. That's kind of interesting. Wow. I might have to check that out.
It's based on a book that I read in high school, the one by George Orwell, you know. Might have been on your curriculum.
Oh, oh no, I'm thinking Fahrenheit 451, I think.
Similar vein, though. You know, it's
I think I do remember that book now. Actually, like I don't know if I read it in my classes, but I do kind of remember people reading that in high school, though. Now,
yeah, no, it's very, very similar in essence to this movie as far as like what the message of it is. It's about the rise of fascism and the dangers of it taking over and running our lives without us even really consciously being aware of it, or being aware of it and not being able to do anything about it until someone does something about it, you know? And
it's a scary thought that, like, how deep are we already? You know, like how, like that is very real. Like the Patriot Act, like after 9/11, like this movie's coming out right as this is happening, you know? Like there's a very good chance this is being listened to, you know, probably not by a human right now, but it's being recorded and there's words.
Yeah, it's being monitored.
Said, you know, like,
you know, we've threatened revolution before, the Scooby-Doo revolution, which will be televised.
Yeah, this is it should be under required viewing if you want to join the revolution. This is up there with Scooby-Doo.
This is a damn good movie, man. I really, really enjoyed it, and it's just got a very succinct sort of, like, another thing that I loved about this movie was not only the story. I thought it was visually really, really good. You know, I enjoyed looking at this movie. There's something in like film circles that, like, the people with the most interesting careers are cinematographers and directors of photography, because the cinematography in this one is done by Adrian Biddle, who I did not know has done a lot of some of my favorite movies. And this was actually his last credit before he died in December of 2005. But he was the cinematographer for Thelma and Louise, directed by Ridley Scott from the 90s. The cinematographer for Aliens, which we covered, directed by James Cameron. The cinematographer for Willow, directed by Ron Howard, starring Val Kilmer and Warwick Davis. The Princess Bride, 101 Dalmatians, the live action one with Glenn Close back from the 90s and stuff, like the Mummy franchise.
Wow.
Yeah, like a very, very solid slate of movies that man worked on, and topped off the career with V for Vendetta. And like when I looked at that, I was like, man, this might be one of my favorite directors of photography, coming in with Aliens, Willow, Thelma and Louise, and V for Vendetta. Like that's some good shit right there.
A lot going for it. I mean, like, it was, you're right, like visually very nice to look at. And like all the action, if there was action, it wasn't so fast that you couldn't tell what was going on. Even most
Very,
of the time,
very well done.
You could really tell what was going on, or to even slow down. But like even like the storytelling here, like you kind of understood it was, let's fight fascism and let's fight the government and everything like that. But then the twists that happened within the story, like I remember, I'm trying to think of like, I felt like there was like 3 twists that happened like kind of within probably an hour of each other. But like there's a lot of just like turns that you didn't really like. I guess Evie being tortured by V, like that, like her walking out into his house and like this was all.
You're like, oh damn, man.
You're like, okay, maybe this dude is a little evil. Like, let's see what's going on. What's his point here? You know what? I don't know. I'm on V's side, but after that, I was like, ooh, okay. I don't know. But then, I guess Evie understood. You know?
He's got his methods. He certainly, and like his point was that, like, the monstrosities of the state turned me into a monster. Everything has these equal and opposite reactions. They commit monstrous acts. I become a monster. I do this to you. You follow through on my revolution. That was my favorite scene. I went ahead and dubbed it when she walked out of there and he was just standing there with his gloves on. He's like, hello, Evie. And she's like, I'm sorry. What the fuck, dude? Like that whole thing, because it's the best performance I think Natalie Portman puts on throughout the movie, save for the sequence before it where she is getting tortured in prison. Like that's whenever she gets brought into the interrogation room and she's not speaking and she's just kind of like Natalie Portman can act her ass off, but then when she has the panic attack with V and he like holds her and stuff and he's like, no, it's like it's cool, I get it, like it's
how you felt whenever you told them that you didn't want your life didn't matter, that you'd rather die behind the chemical shed. And she was like,
oh shit, yeah, look at that.
Like, it's a feeling we have no clue.
I don't feel like when she goes, I don't feel anything anymore, it's like, oh man, like,
yeah, for better or for worse here, like they got the job done, and this would be, in my headcanon that she's the one at ruling or at the front lines. I don't know, the next generation, whatever. But that whole sequence of events is just nuts. Like actually thinking for ourselves that the government has Evie and not knowing it's V, and then like hearing Valerie, like that story, the little and the rat. That's my scene. I think it was just so beautifully. I mean, it was like a dreamscape. It was a time like from the harshness of torture. Like you jump back to that, and you would just tell that she grabbed the paper and was like, that's all she cared about. That's what was keeping her through everything. And but actually, just like those events, like the her story
coming out to her parents and
like so many things that happened in that little span of time, but encapsulated like the whole reason he's fighting, and then learning that Valerie is real.
That was not a layer of deception,
and that's how he, that like he didn't actually know Valerie. It was just the person in the cell next to him.
Yeah, she radicalized him.
Yeah,
the way he radicalizes her. It's really compelling, man.
And oh man, yeah, those twists like right at the end there, and then her going outside. Like I was just pretty emotional, not at like the sense of like someone dying or it's not like the normal emotion. It's kind of just like oh my god, just imagine if this was real. It's such a weird cry. Like I'm not crying, but it's like whenever she steps out in the rain.
Yeah.
Like God is in the rain. You know, like that's the only thing I'm thinking of, because I'm thinking of Valerie's story and like how beautiful that was, and you know how she said, I'm like, you know, this, what a beautiful like shot. And then it literally like calls back to him being born out of fire, her like in water.
Well,
know,
and she's been reborn. She's truly free. You know, like that's what he tells her, where he's like, you're not afraid to die.
Mm-hmm.
You found freedom. You know, she steps out into the fresh air, steps into the rain for the first time, and she's like, oh God, like it's a whole new world out here. I see what's going on. And my favorite shot is the straight above her, like you are one of the raindrops coming down. The camera is. I was like, that's pretty compelling. I thought that looked really good.
I just like the first initial, like her walking out, having her arms up, and then just a lightning strike that just like took across like the whole sky. Like, I don't know, it was just, I don't know what in specific was my favorite frame, but I know it's coming from that.
Right.
The rain while she's out there.
That was good. That was good looking. There's a bunch of good looking shots in this movie, man. There's when he does take over the emergency broadcast system, and you like half the screen is taken up by like a person's face looking up at it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of got this like diastasis going on with it, where it's like it's a split frame, but it's all in one shot. It looks really, really compelling. And there's a few goodies in this movie, man. You know, whenever he pulls out the knife to protect her at the very beginning, and it like all the villains are blurred out, and all you see is the knife at the forefront. Like that looks really, really clean. Like it's a satisfying visual experience. This one.
I was looking through the pictures, forgot completely about the priest and like the bishop storyline there, and how, you know, and like the reason they got there too was like, you follow the money, you know, tax records, that, and the money, like that shows it all. And they're like, this priest was paid the most out of anybody, and now he's like a high ranking member of parliament, you know, and that's like, that's interesting. Let's go check that out. And like just seeing like, like this one's a bit older than usual. Older, I hope not much older. And then like, I was just, okay. Like that's...
Well, and it's all about the way they kind of laid out the people who V was taking out. Everybody who's in a position of power were just rich.
Yep.
That's all. They just had a lot of money. You know, like this guy, the guy who is on TV every night spouting hateful propaganda, was just a guy who was a major stockholder in a pharmaceutical company. And they were like,
have the cure or like the pill for the virus that they already had, because they knew they were releasing it or whatever. Like, and so they knew they were going to get rich off that. But then I think the most interesting kill that he had was the doctor who was in charge of, I guess,
Larkill, the
virus, or maybe like just actually, maybe I don't know.
The experimentation and the virus side of this movie is a little confusing as far as like what the process of it was, you know, like I took it that they were just prisoners. They weren't sick, and they were testing the cures on them, essentially, you know, like how to get rid of the virus. And at least that's how I took it. But
okay. Yeah, that could, cause they said that the cure came out mysteriously right after the election, you know, like right after he's in office, boom, here's the cure. So like they definitely had it, or maybe they didn't have it before they released the virus. Maybe that's what the tests and stuff were for. But I thought it was like they had 3 locations where that it would spread the most. Like one was a school. I guess a prison doesn't really make sense for it to spread. Maybe to cops, I guess. The guards and stuff could just go back, spread it to their families. I guess that actually makes sense. But you see, like, the death toll was, like, small. You know, it was, like, 100 whatever, then, like, 400.
Yeah.
10,000 up to 80,000, you know, whatever it got to. And, like, so I think it was that they knew. Like, this was, whether it was testing just for scientific advancement or, like, just to create the fear. I think this is like the thing that they knew they had the cure, they would get it somehow and sell it, and they would all be safe. But it's like it's way better than a nuclear bomb. Like, I think they even talk about that. They're like, nuclear bomb takes out the economy, takes out everything. You know, like, you have to rebuild everything. But imagine if you could just take out the people and be completely safe yourself.
Yeah.
And leave everything else intact. And that's, a scary thought. That is probably how warfare would go, like, today. Like, that is, like, we did drop 2 nukes, you know, on very populated cities. And we were like, oh, okay, yeah, that, you know, we had that ability, but maybe we really shouldn't have done that.
Right.
But yeah, that doctor, like, she was, like, self-aware enough to know. She was like, you know, is it even worth anything to apologize? You know, like, she knows that she's dead. She knows that what she did was completely wrong. And I love how like clean kind of her death, you know, like, I already killed you 10 minutes ago. Like, sleep, you know.
Well,
like,
and I think there's something that kind of reflects the greed of the people who are responsible for the creation of them. You know, she works in a morgue. She's just kind of like, right? She didn't elevate to some high position where she rolled in the cash and she became like, she just continues doing what she does because she knows what she did was wrong. And she's also, like, her name, like, she's got a different name and she's not officially, like, that's something that I can't give this movie full credit for, is that there are elements of it that are a bit confusing. Where it's just kind of like, well, I don't fully understand what happened here or why we got here. I get the general gist, but I'm like, the specifics of why, like, cause it's a lot packed into this 2 hours.
A lot going on. V's identity, like Rockwell, that one guy, but then it was all just makeup and
Rookwood
and stuff. So that, like, that was a little, like, there's just, a lot of moving parts, that's for sure. And I think maybe it's maybe on purpose to kind of, like, to show how that, I mean, that was his plan, to keep everyone on their toes and guessing and not know, you know, while he could carry out his plan and everything in the background. Because I mean, he obviously, he knew who he wanted to take out, but, like, and he gave himself a year. You know, that was the thing. Like, what a kind of a smart thing to do, instead of, like, trying to change everything in a day, you know, and make everything like, hey, come stand with me. You know, no one's gonna, like, it's just one message on TV, not gonna convince, you know.
A year's worth of activity. Opening people's eyes, or trying to, and then letting them see for a year, and then being like he even says, hey, if you don't see it, you don't have to be there. You could just keep going about your day. If you do see it, however, come on down. And at the end, nobody's watching TV. Nobody's sitting there. They've all seen it by then. So they've all decided to take to Parliament. And it's like, that's a really compelling, if not entirely realistic, bit of filmmaking, which I really, really enjoyed. You know, I didn't want realism. There's not a lot, like, I don't want that. I want, like, cause, you know, there are almost certainly people who would be like, ignorance is bliss. Fuck this. You know, I don't think but the idea of an uprising that everyone takes part in, that's very satisfying.
Oh yeah. No, and even the military that was all stationed there, you know, they were like, no call from anyone, you know, no higher ups are saying anything, you know, and they're like, all right, well, stand down. You know, they were like,
what did I miss with Creedy pulling up with High Chancellor Sutler and then executing him there?
Yeah, so that was V went to his house.
Yeah.
And, well, after he talked with the inspector and was like, you need to look at the inspector. I don't want him to do anything. I don't want him to breathe without you knowing about it. So they were like, you put surveillance on him, and I'll come back whenever I trust you enough or whatever.
Yeah.
So keeping him busy. But then he goes to Creedy's house and is like, you know, I'm here, whatever, I could kill you. I'm not going to. You know, the only way that you will get me is if you give me the chancellor. He's
okay.
Like,
I don't know. I guess that must have just slipped between the cracks for me because
he said like you're trusted enough, you're in his circle where anything you say is strong enough to where like they'll actually believe it. So
gotcha.
He was like, if you capture him, we kill him, then I will give myself up to you, is like what he said.
Yeah, and he's like, you could try and take me, like that's
yeah, and then
pretty hard. He's like, he's like, the last thing you'll feel is you'll die with my hands around your throat.
Whoa, yeah, I mean that line delivery there, like that was nuts. He's telling all of them like, yeah, I mean I guess they try to take off his mask first, the two guys, and just done,
the way the knives have like the wisps coming off of them in that final scene, hard.
Yeah, and then he's like, you can try to shoot me all you want, but just hope by the end, and hope that at the end of all of these bullets that that they will kill me, because if not, then all of you are gone before.
Yeah, if not, you're all gonna die.
And they're like, what the bollocks?
They're like, open fire.
I love bollocks so much. Like it's it feels like that's just like kind of the go-to kind of. I don't know, like what's the equivalent? Maybe just like it can mean a lot of things. It can mean like fuck. It could mean shit.
It literally means balls.
Is that actually what it means?
Pretty sure. Like testicles, bollocks.
Bollocks. Wow, I never. Huh.
I'm pretty sure. I might be. The British mutuals might be.
Bollocks. Is it CK? Ball cock.
Yeah, testicles.
Ball. If you move, yeah, it's like it has the word ball and cock in it. Pretty much. Yeah. Wow. Okay. The testicles. Used to express contempt, annoyance, or defiance as the second definition.
Bollocks.
1, testicles. 2, annoying, or whatever. That's pretty good. But, yeah, I mean, Dr. Creedy, the only thing we have in common is that we're both about to die, or whatever.
Yeah.
How do you figure that? And he goes, well, with my hands around your neck. I was like, oh my God. Like, this, like he, I don't know. And that, he wasn't ever really like that before. He's a lot more eloquent, but whenever he knew he was about to go, he's like, all right, let's, he turned it up a notch a little bit. I think. And it was that passion and everything that fueled him. Cause I really did like at the end, how he's stumbling and he's like, after it's over. Like, I mean, cause he's still like, as he's choking him, Dr. Creedy or Mr. Creedy, whatever, he's like still portraying that it's like not really affecting him and that he's going to live through this, in Creedy's eyes. Like, he's like, holy fuck, like, who is this guy? Like, what the fuck? And then like right after the deed's done, he knows, I guess, he was just hoping that Evie wouldn't have pulled the lever by then, Right. Or did he even think he was going to make it back there, Or like, did he think because I thought for a second that like the train would have been heading there, where he was, and that it would have blown up wherever they were, but they weren't at the Parliament building.
Right.
They were obviously somewhere else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It was nice to, I guess, have that scene wherever they're back together and whatever. But that was just kind of the weird thing. Like, I did get kind of like the father figure, not like a couple. I guess he
romantic.
He did kind of like want to dance with her and like do like sort of things like that. But I really just kind of got the feeling that he was just so lonely that he just appreciated the company. Mm-hmm. Like, it not really like
and that's the thing, is that like there's an interesting element to this movie where I don't think V really reciprocates a lot of the romantic interest that Evie kind of expresses. Mm-hmm. I think that Evie kind of spearheads a lot of it. She's the one who kisses him at the end of the movie, and he literally has no means of kissing back. We have no idea if he was trying to kiss her underneath there, if he just sat there and saw it happen. Like, he's just kind of there. It's the lips of the mask, So I think there's certainly an element to it that feels odd, the romantic pairing there. But I also don't. I kind of view it the same way that I viewed other relationships in movies, where oftentimes we have feelings for people that we have no idea how to express beyond what is typically the most obvious way to express affection, which is typically romantic, so I think that in this moment there, because right before that, whenever he like asks her to dance and that shot of them dancing with like the disco ball, like lights, like that was another one that I was considering. But whenever he asks, like, can we dance? And she's like, on the eve of your revolution. And he's like, my line, a revolution without dancing is not worth having. Is a revolution not worth having?
Yeah. I mean, I would like, I'd like to think that if there is some revolutionists out there that does, take to all this stuff, that their life could be like this at home and all elegant and nice and relaxing. But it's probably hell all the time, Like if this is in real life, like, and you're doing this for real, like, I don't think you really get a chance to slow down. I don't know, maybe
there are 872 songs on this thing, and I've never danced to any of them.
Oh, yeah, poor. Like, what a again. I don't know, I think it's right before she's leaving, maybe, and she's about to leave, and he's like, "Yeah, I know," or whatever, but then he's like, yeah, what they did to me was monstrous. Like, whenever he starts to, like, oh, yeah, I think that was it. Whenever Evie was like, how is it that you can kind of know everything about me, but I don't know a single thing about you? And he's, like, starting to open up, and he was like, yeah, what they did to me was just monstrous, and, like, I just hate, like, you kind of saw, like, the hate, but he's just, like, transferred all of that hate and, like, just balled it up and let it all go with Dr. Creedy there. Like, I feel like that was the moment he was waiting for. Dr. Creedy. I don't know why I said doctor. Mr. Creedy.
Mr. Creedy.
Yeah, but I don't know. This, like, I was very, very pleasantly surprised. I knew I liked this movie whenever I first watched it, but I didn't know if I liked it because it was an actual good movie or where I was just a kid and whatever. I saw a lot of cool knife throws.
And there's something cool about this movie where it's just another one where, like, last week I was like, Constantine's really just here on a technicality, this one it's very much so much more based on a graphic novel and stuff, but this doesn't feel like your typical comic book movie by any means. It feels like it's just a standard old fucking movie that you want to watch. And this will be far from the last time I watch it.
Oh yeah, no, this will definitely be revisited quite often now. This is, I don't know, I remember like whenever we were getting here, I was like, man, I can't wait just to get here. Like, I don't know why, I don't really remember why I like this movie, but I know I want to get to this one, and I think partially it was because you haven't seen it, and it was a movie that I have seen, which is rare. That's very rare. I don't think that was part of it, but I don't know. I think I just feel like I remembered there was something special about this movie, and that's you're right. Like, out of just general movie, like, even not even on the comic book scope, like, just as a movie, this is, you can really recommend it to anybody. Like, I don't know. It's not a movie. I don't know. I guess some people. I can see some people hating it and disliking it for how over the top and stuff that he is, but that's kind of just the whole point of the movie, that it's not the person, that's doing it could be anybody under there. It could be different. It could be multiple people for all they knew. It could not just be one person. And I don't know, I love how, like, this mask, like, is actually used as, like, for Anonymous and
Anonymous and,
like, today, which is pretty cool. And, like, now just watching the movie, like, I guess, was it used before then? Because, like, I guess in the graphic novel it was already, like, looks like that.
Yeah, and like we said, Guy Fawkes is a historical figure, and that is a.
So I wonder
it's a mask that's existed for some time.
That's kind of sick. Like, to think, like, back in 1605 or whenever that was, this dude.
It was actually created by the illustrator David Lloyd of V for Vendetta.
Oh, wow. Okay, so not real in history then. But that is kind of crazy that that story is real though. Like of Guy Fawkes, like almost blew up Parliament, got killed in front of everyone saw his hanging, and like I thought that was just made up for the movie, just because it fit really well. But
right,
I guess the Chancellor is made up for the movie, but he's literally Hitler.
Yeah,
like pretty, and like so I like how things are made up, but very very based.
Yeah, they're based in reality. It's that's what's scary about it, man. This rise of fascism can be subtle. It can sneak up on you, and when it does, you're kind of fucked. You got like until someone does something like what V did. And that's scary shit, man. That's scary shit. But I think all we have left is our favorite character and performance, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and character, I don't know. I'm kind of. I think this one. I like Natalie Portman's performance. I think more just because I could see it more, and like all the crazy emotions that she had to go through. But you're right in saying that this is one of the best mask act. Just the whole kit that comes with it. Like I wonder how much of it is actually Hugo Weaving in there, like in the. Like I really wonder how much of it is voice work and just legit. But
right,
I think I'll have to give mine to Natalie Portman for performance, for the scenes you mentioned, like her panic attack after she's coming out, like and the torture itself. And then like even whenever the cool comedy what was his name, Dietrich, after he's like getting taken and the black bag over his head, and she's like under the bed, and but the mistake she made with her parents is that she said "mom" or "mommy," whatever, and like that's how they knew she was under the bed. But this time she stayed quiet.
Yeah,
and like that, like just she had to go through a whole wide range of emotions in this one. So I really liked Natalie Portman, and that's what I remember the most out of the movie. I remembered her the most, and but I can't go with anyone. I think V has got to get the character for me. He was a character he was like kind of playing a character almost, whether it was, that's just how he went a little insane in his cell, he was in a cell, the fifth cell, Roman numeral V, and now he's obsessed with the letter V. But also you have Valerie, the girl who kept him, kind of through, and maybe that's why he's obsessed with V, I don't know, like, all these things to think about, which is really cool.
Well, he's like God. He does not play with dice, and he doesn't believe in coincidence. He's like, if I was in cell 5, V, and the girl next to me's name was Valerie, V, there must be some reason V is important to me. Like that's.
Yeah. No, I was always like, I'm trying to figure out who he is, like who he could be, but
I truly don't.
Like, it's you don't even want to know. It's better to leave him. Like it's. I think even the audience, you kind of want that scene to have him unmasked, just to see what he looks like. Not even to figure out who he is, but just to see his face. Like you kind of have that feeling. Like I don't want him to be unmasked for the whole idea and the whole point of his character, but there is still some point like part of me that's like, just want him to take off the mask.
Well, I think the closest we get to seeing his face is whenever he goes undercover as Rookwood. The way the light's hitting his face, those aren't just wrinkles, man. That guy's scarred. He's Deadpool-esque, The way his hands look is the way the rest of him looks. And that's the other thing, is that like, I don't think it would have been, even if they did reveal his face, it would have just kind of been like, oh, we're putting a face to the man.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we would have known who he was. We would have seen his face.
This figure, nothing. Like, I don't know, would have, because I really thought that they kiss. I thought I remembered her lifting the mask up and kissing him for some reason. Because it is, I don't know, kind of like it makes sense to kiss the mask, because I think that's actually what V would want. He's like, there is a face behind, or there isn't a face behind here even, like that's not who I am, that's not me. So I do think
whenever the scientist lady is describing, he looked at me. There were no eyes, but I could tell he was looking at me. I could feel it. You know, like that guy, he's got some shit going on under there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not.
Yeah.
But
No.
you know that is his face. That's the face that Evie has come to know as V. You know, when she goes in for, there's almost this moment after she pulls away from that kiss where she kind of realizes she just kissed a mask. You know, and she's kind of like, man, like that's just your face to me, you know, like that's what you look like. That's what you sound like. That's who you are to me. And so there's this, and that kind of plays into her last, you know, the last little line of dialogue she gives before it cuts to credits where she's like, you know, he will always mean, like the symbol will always mean something to them, but it'll never mean as much as he did to me. You know, like it was very, her connection to this cause was much more driven by this guy than it was truly the idea, because, you know, she comes into it and she's like, I'm sorry that I'm not like my parents, you know, like I'm sorry I don't have the fight in me that they did. I just don't. But, he finds that in her, he ignites it in her, and she kind of becomes the person she always kind of wished she was, which is why Evie is, I flip it. Evie is my character and Hugo Weaving is my performance, where I feel like the development that Evie sees over the course of this film kind of lent her to become my favorite character. And V was very, very close. You know, I know he has his, like, the only thing that I ended up being like, oh, you know, hard to like the guy for torturing Evie and locking her in a cell. I know he had his reasons, and I get that, but like I was like, I feel like there's probably a different way to go about it. But, you know, in his mind, there wasn't. And in Evie's mind, she understands that, and I completely get that. So, you know, for the story, it 100% works. But ultimately,
he knew it worked for him.
Yeah.
Because that's what he went through. So
Exactly.
he's like, well, I can try to think of some nicer way to do it, but I know one way that will work.
It arms you against the system whenever you are locked away and treated that way by what you think is the state, you know?
Because Valerie, the cell next to him, you know, she was literally just gay, so that's why she was taken. So like nothing V could have just been gay as well, or maybe he was trying to start or like have revolutionary ideas because he was obsessed with Guy Fawkes and like that story. And like that's, I mean, what he did, you know, using the tunnels and putting a bomb under Parliament. That's what Guy Fawkes was about to do.
Yeah, and like how did the facility blow up on the 5th of November? Did we ever get that information?
On how Parliament blew up?
No, when he rises from the ashes and he's in fire, that happened on the 5th of November.
Oh.
So it's just like another layer where it's like, is that why he attached himself to Guy Fawkes so hard? Because he was like, oh, the 5th of November, nothing's coincidence. I believe like this is my drive. This is my life now sort of thing. Or,
oh yeah.
Or is there something more going on where like he did that on the 5th of November?
Did they actually explain that? Like,
I don't think they did.
Because I guess it was the prison.
Mm-hmm.
And they were testing the virus and everything there. Maybe it was getting out of hand and the government's like, blow it up. Like bomb it? Maybe?
Yeah, and I think that's a distinct possibility because I'm pretty sure the prison was another one of those things where they were like, oh, there was a suspicious explosion that killed this many people. And like that was a part of the whole snowball effect. It just didn't kill this guy.
That's right. Oh, man.
Which happened on November 5th, you know, like, cause she's going through the dates explaining, you know, like, I saw them and I couldn't help but feel like they were pathetic, you know, and, then she's going through the dates and she gets to November 5th and it blew up and all this happened. And it's like, it's just interesting to see. And again, the 5th, V.
This is true. Okay. Wow. Yeah. A lot of fives coming up here. Yeah, I didn't even think about how the building blew up at all. I just kind of was like, yeah, well, it blew up, and that's how he was. You know, kind of his origin story.
November is also the only month in the year that has the letter V in it, which is like
Ember comes after the letter V, and there is it
fire.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. I don't know. And now I'm going crazy. But
She steps into the rain. No embers. Still V though.
Wow. Yeah. No, that. Why did that hospital? Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I don't know. Maybe they did touch on it because there was just so much.
There's
going
just
on.
a lot of information pumped at you in this movie. You know, there kind of had to be, especially when you are adapting like a 10-issue graphic novel.
Yeah, like I think the changes they made were fair. Like I don't really know. Like if I want this movie to be shorter. Like I remember coming off Constantine being like, yeah, probably shorter.
I think this movie necessitated its runtime and maybe even needed a little more. You know, like it's
benefited from a little bit more.
Yeah, like I think if it was 2.5 hours instead of 2 hours 12 minutes, and we get a chance to flesh out a little bit more of these ideas, I think it could only, because there's this pace to this movie that's just kind of like boom, 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 boom. Things just keep happening, which is, I like to read reviews after we do this from like film critics and try to see how this movie was received at the time, because like most reviews for this movie are from 2006. You know, so like it's interesting to see the sort of lens they were viewing it through at the time. And I saw like so many things that said this, like I think it was from The Guardian, like this movie is boring. And I'm like, what the fuck kind of movie are you watching, bro? Like I don't know how you could possibly watch this and think it was boring. That was just kind of bizarre to me. But
I mean, I'm like, there's maybe it starts on like what? I'm trying to think of like where it's really even boring, because like when you start to get into like his plan and it's unraveling, it's like it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and like that tension's just building and building the whole time. Like maybe, yeah, like what? When is it boring? I don't know. I don't get that really at all.
I don't either. Either.
I think, maybe it was how long it needed to be. Maybe longer wouldn't actually do well. Like I think maybe that's just because it is like sitting in a movie. What is this? 2 hours and 12 minutes. Yeah, so I mean it's pretty average though, I guess, for a movie. It's not too long, right? Like, okay, I was kind of reminded of Kill Bill, and I scroll down IMDb and see that. Like, it was kind of like had their list, of the people they needed to kill, but this one's just a lot, not just secret, whatever people. These are very known people. But I was kind of reminded of Kill Bill while watching for some reason. I'm like, this is Beatrix Kiddo if she, at like her maximum peak, taking over like the world and overthrowing fascism or something. But I don't know, in a completely different way. Different veins, obviously, but like the Truman Show. That's pretty good. That's I don't know, movies that, I guess, the Big Brother idea or whatever. That's the thing. I've never. Is that a movie, like Big Brother, or is that just like the concept, like an idea of like
the TV show Big Brother?
TV show. There it is.
It's a reality TV show where they're always being watched in their house and stuff.
Oh, it's reality TV, not even like fiction.
No.
Oh. Wow. I had no idea. My whole life, I thought Big Brother was like this movie or something where it was like Truman Show-esque, or, fascism has taken it, like they're watching your every move, like sort of thing. Not just a reality TV show. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I guess it's the idea behind it.
The idea, yeah. So. There was an idea.
Yeah. Seeing, maybe the undersung character nod, or underdog character nod, goes to Dietrich.
Oh, big time.
The comedy guy. Yeah, like, I guess he had his little sexual or whatever collection over there, and that was the only part of him where he was like, yeah, well, it was kind of his way of explaining, like kind of keeping himself because like it was women over there in those paintings and stuff, right? Like I didn't.
I thought it
like,
was men. I thought it was.
I
I
was
thought.
trying. Oh, okay, maybe I just didn't look close enough because that's. I was like, man, it would have made a lot more sense if those were men over
No,
there.
I'm pretty sure he's gay, and that's
Okay.
what. That's
Yeah, I
what.
mean,
Like,
because I got that idea. I was like, okay, so he's hiding. Like, I got that. But I for some reason I thought they were all women, and he was like apologizing for them, like the paintings being women.
sexualization.
Yeah. But then he started to get into like how.
No, yeah, I kind of took that to be like the only vestige of himself he can comfortably display anywhere, and it's in this back room where he's with a hidden trapdoor knob.
Yeah, kind of like Nope. I like whenever the.
Oh yeah, he's like check this shit out.
But a little different, I guess. That's like he's glorifying his own experience and like
his own trauma,
wrapping like the trauma behind it as if it's something cool and collectible. But this guy actually sees like the beauty in everything. He's like, yeah, that's the Quran, a copy of the Quran.
Well, and that's another thing that makes it so important that this came out amidst the Patriot Act and post 9/11 and everything, is that like one of the express things that they, like at the very beginning where they're running through all the things that are disgusting about society, and he's like homosexuals and Muslims and terrorists, you know, and like the Quran has been outlawed. If you have the Quran, you're going to be executed. You know, like that's demented. You know, like that's not cool by any means. And you know, she's like, "Are you Muslim?" And he's like, "No, but I don't have to be to appreciate the poetry and the pictures painted and such." And I was like, you know what? I like you, Dietrich.
Stephen Fry, is he in something? I felt like he just looked really familiar. I don't know why. He's in The Sandman. I still haven't watched that. I need to. Yeah, I don't know why he just seems so familiar for some reason.
He's been in a lot of stuff. He was pretty solid in The Sandman. I enjoyed his character in that. Yeah, Sex Education.
Nothing's The Hobbit. I don't think that's it.
Veep. Yeah, he's been in some shit.
Sherlock Holmes game. Oh, that's a game, or maybe.
I think it's the other. It's the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock movies.
Harry Potter Goblet of Fire. Oh no, narrator video game. Man, what? I don't know why. I just feel like there's something that I just can't quite land.
No, there was a comment that Emily made while we were watching this where she kind of couldn't tell every time she looked up the difference between a lot of the characters because, you know, Finch and Dietrich and Creedy and all of them just all kind of looked the same.
They do kind of look the same. I was about to say, because like looking at IMDb, even it was kind of being like, it's kind of tough to, like their character names are there, but like to differentiate which one like is still tough. I don't know. That is true, but yeah, Dietrich, like basically getting killed over a SNL sketch. Which is man, yeah, that every high power death was nice, but then all the people that
the assassinations
Creedy took was not. I did not like those.
I ain't like that.
But yeah, all right. I think I just wanted to give Dietrich some flowers.
I dig that. He deserves it. He was a great character in this movie. But what do you want to do first? Do you want to give this movie a rating and then place it in the rankings? Because this is our 25th movie in the project.
I already have my place in the ranking, I guess.
I've got it set on mine too.
I know where it's going. So I mean, the ranking I don't think is going to change that. All
right, then I say we start with the rating and then we can get to the ranking on a personal note. And we'll kind of, since it is 25, I say we just go ahead and rattle them off top to bottom or bottom to top, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go ahead and rate this bad boy. What do you, how you feeling about this enjoyment wise? I feel like this is the highest we've had in a few weeks, I would say.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like Spider-Man 2, that's an 8.25. That's where I'm debating, right now. Is like, do I like this movie more than Spider-Man 2? And
I can tell you assuredly I do.
I think
I'm the reason. I'm the
there,
reason that movie got an 8.25. You know, like I talked us down big time on that. You know, like that's something to keep in mind.
but I know that. Like I know, like I know all of this. I know how much I love Spider-Man, and like I think Spider-Man 1. Like I don't, nothing will beat that for me. Like the nostalgia, if it is nostalgia, I don't care. Like that movie's too ingrained into my brain in my childhood.
No, I get that.
For it to really mean anything. But 2, I can kind of get behind putting this above that.
Yeah, I have this on a personal note as the best enjoyment rating since Spider-Man 2002.
Okay.
Which it's been a couple months since then now.
Because and then I kept climbing the list, and I'm like, X-Men 2 or X2, yeah, definitely. Batman Forever, yeah, like definitely. And then Mask of Phantasm, and I'm getting there, and I'm like, I mean,
it's a 9 or a 9.25, and
okay,
I'd be comfortable going with a 9. I think, you know, I don't think I want to elevate it above Mask of Phantasm necessarily. You know, I think that I don't know. Maybe I do though. I did really enjoy this movie, but
I don't know. I think it kind of does deserve that bump.
All right. Hey, you ain't gonna hear a peep out of me. I was trying to be conservative with it. I'll take a 9.25 here.
I think it does. It does deserve it. So okay, I like that. For Vendetta 9.25. Let's go. Okay. Genre wise,
So it's firing on a lot of cylinders, very close to all of them. I think you're looking at another floor 9.
yeah. No, I was thinking like it would not a 10. I didn't think, but like damn, getting like there was that little bit of hesitation. So I guess 9.75 would be my max. But then Spider-Man 2 is a 9.5. Spider-Man, Mask of Phantasm, and Superman at 10s.
Yeah, it's not that level, and I don't even think it's Spider-Man 2 level as far as the action adventure superhero comic book movie thing. You know, like I don't think I would take it all the way up to a 9.5. You know, like maybe another 9, maybe another 9.25, maybe a 9, but I don't think I could comfortably tell you that it's. I think this movie knows what it is, but it's not. Like there are better versions of this movie, you know. I think that like even the 1984 movie from 1984, I think is a generally better movie than this as far as this genre is concerned, you know.
So is 9 too high still, do you think?
Dystopian drama. And I don't think a 9's too high. I think a 9 would kind of if the standard for that dystopian sci-fi drama is 1984 out of 10, I don't think it would be a huge step down from that. You know, like I do think it would still be a 9.
Okay. So I'm comfortable at a 9. Slotting it in there. Because I really think they knew what they were going for here. You know, this was and not shy about it. That's for sure. You know, like there are some movies that they don't want to like tippy toe this line of saying like fascism is bad and saying all these things, but they don't want to make it so blatant that people will hate this movie, you know, just for that reason. This movie, they were like, yeah, no, this is balls to the wall. We're going to be as crystal clear, about where we stand. So yeah, I don't know. I like a 9, putting it just, you're right. It's not quite Spider-Man 2, not quite Spider-Man and Superman, all that. But I would, you know, like the next closest are Batman Returns and Batman Forever at an 8.25, and then Batman 89 at an 8, and Blade and stuff like that. So I do think it does do a little better than them. So yeah, I do like that. Okay.
All right.
There we go. Looking pretty good so far, I guess, adaptation-wise.
Adaptation wise, I didn't get a chance to read the comic all the way through, but I did get a chance to sort of look into what the comic is at its essence, look at the differences between the comic and the film. And it seems that they captured the spirit of the comic in a relatively accurate fashion. And generally, taking a look at the differences, I do think the differences tend to work for the movie that they are putting forth, and that automatically gives you a little boost, I think, as far as the adaptation is concerned. If you are going to change stuff, make sure it's better. Don't change stuff for the worse. And, part of that is medium, comic books versus movies. Some things are going to work better on screen than they will on page. Some things are going to work better on page than they will on screen. And, you got to know when those things come into play, and I think this movie was well aware of that sort of thing. I don't think it's necessarily a perfect adaptation. I don't think anyone would tell you that, but
apparently, Evie was a little different in comics.
Didn't see as much development. There wasn't a hint of the romance. The public doesn't get involved. Like, the ending is very different compared to the ending of the comic, apparently. So, there's a lot of stuff changed, but I think it works really well for this movie.
They had to cover a whole year in 2 hours, and it is one movie. This isn't a 100, 200, page novel or whatever, whatever it happens to be. There's a lot more detail and time that you can sit with and focus on the, things that don't really matter on the grand scheme. But I think for the movie itself, no change was detrimental. No change was oh, that was just wrong. They should not have gone that route. If anything, they just made their points more clear, the points they were trying to get across. If it does happen to, to not be exactly like it was in the novel, well, it's not always like it is in the books,
Yeah.
Learn that from Constantine. That could be a good thing.
It can. And, it doesn't hurt this one a lot by any means. I think that out of hesitation for me, having not fully read it, I can't give it a great adaptation score, but I can't give it a bad one. So that's sort of the thing. So I end up coming down at probably around 7, which is kind of what we end up giving just all right adaptations in general.
Mm-hmm. That would be Batman 66, Superman 2, Howard the Duck, and Hulk 2003.
Feels good. Feels good to me.
Yeah, I can dig that. All right. There we go. Now, critically here.
Pretty damn good movie. I think I would elevate it on a few things that we've done in the past. The highest critical rating we've ever given was an 8.75, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh.
And that's both Superman and Mask of Phantasm.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And you're saying you're elevating that?
No, I'm saying I can't elevate it above that.
Okay, I didn't think it was quite on the Superman or Phantasm levels there, but
and I don't even know if it's quite Spider-Man 8.5 levels. It's we're getting closer there. I think you are finding me somewhere in the 8.25 or 8.5. I don't think I can go I don't think I'd go down to an 8 and tying it with X-Men. I think I'm definitely higher than that. So somewhere in that range
of 8.25. Yeah, putting it right below Spider-Man. Spider-Man is very pretty well made. Very cohesive. Very, I couldn't put this at Spider-Man level, but X2. That's, I don't know. We were very surprised with that one as well. As just for the X-Men movies, I guess. I'm still kind of getting all my watches in for that, but that one was one that surprised me of how well it was made, and I think this one just follows suit with that. That it was a movie that I knew I was going to enjoy, but then when I was watching this time, I'm like, wow, this is actually just pretty damn well made. This is, performance-wise, Natalie Portman and Hugo Weaving, our two main characters, just killed it. That's for sure. I don't think performances are really on the table. I guess the Chancellor, everyone's just kind of over the top, and it's not a bad thing. I don't think it hurts it. It just they're playing their character. So I think performances were done very well. I think the main gripe is that of how much was going on, how like you probably do get a little confused when you watch it over like some smaller story details. But the bigger picture is never lost. Like it's always like we're fighting fascism, we're fighting this, or we're part of this revolution. We're taking out high-ranking people. Like that was really never out of the question. Yeah, I think 825 would be fair there.
All right, and that rounds the movie out to an 8.38 and 84% on our good old-fashioned Penny Bloom-o-meter.
Okay.
Elevating it above IMDb a bit at 8.2 out of 10, where we are at 8.4 out of 10, and elevating it above Rotten Tomatoes, where the critic meter is 73% and the audience score is 90. So we found ourselves right in between there at an 84. 84% for V for Vendetta, which is the best we've had since Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, that puts it at number 5 overall on the project so far. Right above Batman Forever and X2 and Batman 89, Batman Returns, all those, and I'm there. Like I'm coming back to this one before any of those movies. And the ones that do give it a run for the money, or their money are the Spider-Mans and the Superman movie. So it's in pretty good company. Yeah,
this is one where I rented it, and about halfway through the movie I was like, God damn it, wish I would have bought it, And eventually I will, but I was like, son of a bitch. All right, I tend not to rent things because I'm like, I'll probably like it. I'll probably end up watching it anyway. But I was like, $4, I'll go ahead and shill that out. And because it was like, if the discrepancy is like 15 versus $4, I'm like, I'll take the $4 one for now. If it's like 8 versus 4, I'm like, I'll watch this twice for sure. And then I get my money back, because that's how my brain works.
But yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, that kind of, I put it on my list, and it kind of just worked out, average wise, because
let's take it from the bottom up for our comic book movie journey ranking. We've got 25 films now, and we each have our own personal ranking. In terms of enjoyment, and kind of whatever you want it to be. It can be in terms of enjoyment with a blend of quality with a blend of enjoyment. Mine is enjoyment priority, quality is just kind of a second tier priority there. So it's kind of how I go about it. But if you'd like to go about it, go on ahead.
Right. Well, you just want to do one at a time, or just the whole shebang?
Yeah, let's just go for it. 25 up.
All right. Well, 25. Is pretty solidly Catwoman at the bottom there for me. And then 24, I have Supergirl. Sorry, ladies. Just the two movies that we've covered that are female characters just weren't really the best. But that's where I got. And then 23 is where I have Blade 2. Out of the Blades was my least favorite. I like 1 and 3 way more. 22, Superman 3. Kind of just a underwhelming movie, just kind of like it's there, but the only way I'm watching it is if I'm watching all of them in order. One that might be a little low is Howard the Duck. I think it's just been so long since I've seen it. Right. But it is enjoyable. Maybe it does deserve a little higher, but that's 21.
I am actually going to cut you off there. We're going to do 5 chunks of 5. So I'll do 5, you do 5, I'll do 5.
Like
so
that.
We have the same bottom 5. Different order, same bottom 5.
Okay.
I've got Catwoman at 25, Supergirl at 24. I have Superman 3 at 23. I have Blade 2 at 22, and I have Howard the Duck at 21. So we're on a similar note there with just the Superman and Blade 2 switched.
Wow. Okay. Next 5 starting up with 20. This is where I have Blade Trinity. So still, I guess still a little, maybe, I don't know. That one, I like it for some aspects, but I guess I'm not really just going to pop in and watch Blade Trinity, I guess.
No, I get that.
Out of nowhere.
I get that.
19 is where I have Elektra. 18, I have the Hulk. 17, Constantine. And 16, Batman 66.
Okay. I dig that. We got some similar footing here. but not entirely, not the same 5 as the last one. At 20, this is where I have Batman 66. At 19, I've got Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Okay. Yeah.
At 18, I have Elektra. At 17, I have Hulk. And at 16, I have Constantine.
Okay. Wow. Still pretty similar.
Pretty similar. 3 out of the 5 there.
Okay.
Or 4 out of the 5, just in different spots.
My 15 is where I have Batman and Robin. That one, I don't know what that's just kind of a crazy, hectic movie.
That's the enjoyment. That's where the enjoyment factor really kicks in.
I was gonna say that's what I was gonna say. And then 14 is where I have Superman 4, Quest of Peace.
Ooh, okay.
So not too far off. I just really like, I don't know, just the idea of the story there. And it was, I think, a nice breath of fresh air after Superman 3. Definitely. So I just liked it a little more. And then 13, I have Blade, the first one. 12, I have Batman 89. And then 11, I have Daredevil.
We have the exact same 5 here, except for 14. At 15, I have Batman and Robin. At 14, that's where I have Blade Trinity.
Okay.
At 13, I have Blade. 12, Batman 89. 11, Daredevil.
Okay, wow. Well, we're lining up. This, my next 5, I have, let's see, I think I have this right. Yeah, for some reason I always get Batman Returns and Batman Forever mixed up. But no, I do have them in the right places here. 10 is Batman Returns. 9 is where I have Superman 2. 8 is Batman Forever. And then 7 is the first X-Men. And then 6 is X2.
All right. Yeah, I'm checking out mine real quick. I haven't changed that part in a while, and I do feel a little slightly different at this point. But at 10, I have Batman Returns. Okay. At 9, I have the first X-Men. At 8, I have Superman 2. At 7, Batman Forever. And at 6, Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
Didn't quite make the top 5 Spider-Man 2 there.
All right. 5, I have the movie we're talking about today, V for Vendetta. It's where it slides for me. And my debate was if it goes above Spider-Man 2, which is my 4. That's, I can kind of see it slip up there. And maybe even over Mask of Phantasm at 3. I like it could go anywhere from 3 to 5. It's really how I'm feeling for the day. But I think Mask of Phantasm and Spider-Man 2 are more well-rounded movies for me. Like I like them. The enjoyment's all there, but they're I feel like they're better made. And I like Spidey's my guy, so I really like Spidey. So it's hard. It's hard to put it above there. So yeah, 5 V for Vendetta, 4 Spider-Man 2, Phantasm 3, and then Superman, the first one at 2, and then Spider-Man 1 at 1 for me.
All right, yeah, we've got three out of the 5 here, or 4 out of the 5 in the top 5 are the same, not the same spots, but the same movies. With my 5 spot, you were debating Spider-Man 2, V for Vendetta. I have X2 at 5. At 4, I have Batman Mask of the Phantasm. At 3, I have the movie we talked today, V for Vendetta. And I had him at 2, above Spider-Man, but the more I thought about it, the more I know I'm going to go back to Spider-Man before I go back to V for Vendetta. It's just a fact of life. There's too much there that I enjoy. And at 1, that's where I have Superman 1978. I adore that movie.
That's a classic there.
It'll be quite difficult and probably quite some time before that is not my number 1.
And I'd say over time, as I grow, maybe I do go out of the Spider-Man phase, because I've been really liking Superman. I read his comic. If I do read comics, I've been going to All-Star Superman. That's the one I'm the deepest in.
That's the best.
But he's growing on me a whole lot, and that one, it's up there with Spider-Man 1. That's just kind of one of my favorite movies of all time, just in general. Not even talking comic books. That's just, I watched the hell out of that movie.
Right.
And for V for Vendetta, like actually making me think, like, is Spider-Man? Do I like this more than Spider-Man 2? That's
impressive. That's high praise. Yeah.
So, very surprised on this watch, that's for sure. I thought this was just kind of going to be another middle of the road, just kind of like not a whatever movie, but just not what I know, like Batman Begins. Like that's the one that I'm kind of like, I know that like I'm really gonna enjoy that, like critically enjoyment, everything kind of firing on cylinders there. Like I really like Batman Begins, but like this was the one that I was just waiting to get to. Just so that you could finally see it, I guess. And,
yeah, we're going on a run here that I'm very excited about. You know, Batman Begins next week, where we will be joined once again by Claire DeJaneiro, which I'm very excited to have her back, and she'll be back with us for that, and Barbie on Wednesday. We'll be talking that with the new Barbie movie. Claire DeJaneiro will be there for both of those, so I'm very excited for that. The week after that, we've got a personal favorite of mine. Far from the greatest movie of all time, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't love it. The Fantastic Four movie from 2005. I personally adore that movie very, very deeply. I remember being 5 years old, sitting in the theater for that bad boy. So I'm excited for that. X-Men: The Last Stand. Yeah, that's
crazy that I've lived this long. No, I don't know. I've just never made it around to that. But
you've never made it around to the Fantastic Four movie, huh?
No, neither of them. Aren't there two?
There are two, and we will get to that before long in a couple months. You know, that'll be before the end of the next cycle of films we're discussing. You know, before we take another break, we will get to the second Fantastic Four movie. But you know what I'm really excited about is a couple back-to-back weeks. There was Superman Returns and Superman 2, the Donner cut, and that's still a good month away. But I'm very excited for that. And I can't wait to get there. But yeah, we got a pretty DC heavy for the next couple weeks with a couple Marvel spliced right there in the middle. So I'm very excited for that. The next month is going to be fun for this. And we're still doing Game of Thrones rewatch. Winter is Blooming is going on right now. We are doing our director's spotlight. And, you know, Christopher Nolan's just ended this week. We did Oppenheimer on Wednesday. We saw that in 70 millimeter. It was an experience. We had to discuss it. And you can listen to that. And we're talking Greta Gerwig for the next couple weeks for our director's spotlight. We're doing Barbie next Wednesday, Little Women the week after that, and then Lady Bird the week after that. And I'm very excited for all that. So with that, I think I will ask that you go to patreon.com/PennyBloomPod, where you can support this podcast financially. It's huge because it costs me money, and I don't make any off of it unless it's over there. That's where I post up all sorts of written reviews, comic book reviews, book reviews, movie reviews, all of that. I would love if you check that out. For $3 a month, you can support us, and that's huge. Or $1.50. We've got a $1.50 tier, which you won't get access to audio content, but you will get access to written reviews. And I feel pretty good about my written reviews, so you're not lacking for content over there. Head to Twitter, follow at PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram at PennyBloomPodcast. Remember to leave a 5-star rate and review wherever you might be listening. Let's see. Yeah, share us with a friend, you know, and I can't emphasize enough leaving that review. It helps a lot with our search metrics. And we just haven't been getting enough of those. It would be a very, very big help. But yeah, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And a building is a symbol, as is the act of destroying it. Symbols are given power by people. Alone, a symbol is meaningless, but with enough people, blowing up a building can change the world.